Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect, one word conversations. Um, as you can see, I am out of uniform today. I am in South Carolina and it has been like 80, 90 degrees outside. And so we've had the air on and so it's been hot, it's been cold, it's been all over the place. So we're trying to kind of figure out what the temperature is, in our apartment and and outside and to kind of manage that. But that is, as we say, is our first world problems, right? you know, but I am so honored and glad to be with you today. Our conversation will be around the word complete, and I think really in a number of ways this has been showing up for me, and trying to figure out what that is or what that isn't. But the more that I embrace that, the more that I think different things will show up for my life. So, with that in mind, I am going to bring up my friend as I do, and we'll have a conversation. Good morning.
Hello, William. Hi.
Hello. This is the time where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
All right. Well, good morning. It's a lot earlier here in Seattle than it is over there in South Carolina, but I got up for you. I am
I
awake.
I I know I so much appreciate the people that I've met, that I'm really connecting with on the West Coast, that when this invitation went out they said yes, and it's like wow, it's like I did make a connection there, so I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, oh yeah, we definitely made a connection. Well, yeah, and I said yes, and then I went, oh, 8 a.m. And that was the other world where I was awake at 8 a.m. and now it's like quarantine pandemic reality where I may not be up normally about 8 a.m. Um, So, yes, good morning. I'm Kimber Xara. How do I introduce myself? Uh, I've had many jobs and many roles in my life, and I've often worked with children, worked in art in various ways. I went to college and studied collaboration, and collaborative social change was my degree because I truly believe that in order to change and make things better, we need to work together
Right.
and find how we can bring all of our voices to the table. And so thank you, William, for this another opportunity to express that, how that's possible. Just the conversations are so essential to creating a new world and a reality that we all believe in because we've all created it. So um, yeah, I guess that's how I introduce myself. It depends on the moment and
Okay.
because I have many aspects, as I
No.
believe most people do. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
thank you. I'm happy to be here.
No, some people, they call me the labels guy, right? So because I talk about within my conversation living beyond our labels, and so really recognizing how we're showing up in the labels that come with it, with those expectations. So yeah, so I definitely appreciate it. So the question of today, one of the many questions of the day, is how does complete land for you?
Well, yeah, it's an interesting word. And we did speak very briefly in the green room before. So I've been contemplating that the last week or so leading up to this conversation. And I was thinking, complete. Why did you pick complete for me? I don't know if that's the word for me. And then you said, oh, I picked it randomly. And I went, oh, thanks. Thanks, Spirit. Good job. I got some work to do on complete. Um, so yeah, I've been thinking a lot about it. And I liked your questions. What works for you, essentially, I'm going to paraphrase. And for me, what do you find challenging about it? And what would you like to learn from it? Those are the way I framed your questions. Um,
Absolutely.
and so what I kind of sat with it, meditated with it, and found that when I'm going inside and I ask what is complete, I feel like in the sense of the universe is complete and I am complete in the universe. However, I also believe the universe is perpetually changing and evolving, and so am I, and so is therefore everything in the universe. And so what I came to with the complete was that I think in the sense of being, complete resonates, like we are completely being connected. And yet in the sense of when complete is simplified to, complete this project or complete and make perfect. I don't
Hmm.
really believe in perfect,
Right.
except in the sense of we're continually evolving and that action is perfect. But I don't believe we're trying to reach some end point or some, it seems unattainable
Right.
perfection if it's off in the future.
Right.
So anyway, I had a lot of it. It spun up a lot more thoughts and like paradoxical feelings than I would have imagined from one little word like complete.
Right. No, I totally, no, I totally get it. I think, I've been, how it's been shown up for me that I've been trying to embrace or working hard to embrace that I am whole and complete. And so complete for me, it shows up as I'm complete. However, there is some awareness or lack of awareness that I have of my completeness, if that makes sense, right? So it's like, and so my journey is to understand or get an appreciation of just how complete I am. And it's like, that is the journey, that is the endeavor, that is the perfecting process within that. But first, you have to, for me, I have to acknowledge that I'm complete. If I think that I'm incomplete, then I'm trying to find pieces. I'm trying to find things to connect myself. And then I'm like, it's like bringing foreign objects into my life. I'm bringing things that have nothing to do with me that I'm trying to add to. And so that's where the discomfort for me is, when I feel that, oh, I I'm missing something. I need to bring this from here. I need to bring this from there. But the more that I not bring things from other places, but just embrace that I'm complete, and the more that I understand or appreciate or have an awareness of my completeness, then I can show up fully.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that kind of thinking about because I'm an interesting big word to unpack. Sits sort of heavy with me. Yeah, I felt that too. I felt like there was a pressure around it, like there's this thing you're supposed to do to then be complete. But like
Right,
you said, William, if we understand that we already are complete, then we can maybe look at it as, well, how can I enhance these aspects that already exist in me? Because that's
right,
what growth is, right? Personal growth, awareness, development is to figure out, well, how can I make this me who is already here and wonderful and complete? How can I learn more and grow
right,
more or apply my gifts more clearly and effectively, or, enhance what already exists rather than thinking, well, what can I add in to make it better or more perfect or more complete, right?
right. Yeah, I just really, believe that, going back to school, we all, love school. We have that kind of, that learning is that the process of doing something is a task, right? And then, did you complete the task? It's something. So in some cases, that's how I see my life. Did I complete this? If there's a task involved in it. And so, if I, wake up today, or before I go to sleep, go look at all the things that I completed or didn't complete, then there's a judgment. Then there's like, and then it says something about myself, and then it goes into my worthiness, and then it goes into all this other stuff, and it's like, dude, relax. You did what you did, right? You know, you didn't do what you didn't do, and just you know, it's fine. That's good. And I think because sometimes we overlearn things, we overlearn words, you know, and our concepts, our constructs, and then we hold ourselves to them instead of giving us ourselves a place to like as you pointed to grow into to have an understanding of, to kind of get more clarity of, and it just really keeps us from I guess living fully. I guess that's
Yeah. Yeah. Like you mentioned, judgments. I mean, it's so easy to go into judgments. And I feel like the part of complete that has an expectation of perfection or something that needs to be attained, it does automatically kind of go, oh, there's going to be judgments there because who's deciding, well, what is complete or what is perfect? Um, I guess sometimes it is ourselves and we write our long to-do list and, oh, well, now I don't have to go to work. I could write a book and start a business and I can do, good,
right,
the list of things when we knew we were going to be in quarantine, which we thought was what, 2 weeks, and then it was a month, and then it
right,
was, I've been off work for 3 months. So
wow,
I feel like I could easily, and I do have this voice that says, oh, well, you could have, or you should have done a very long list of things.
right,
But, you have to take into account the completeness of the situation that we're in, which is there's a lot of uncertainty and unknown. And if you are a compassionate, empathetic being, as I believe probably you and I both are, and
right,
I would imagine many people watching, I have no idea who's watching,
right.
but people who like you are probably compassionate, aware beings. Um,
I would think so,
you
right?
know that it's so overwhelming, the situation that we're currently in
Hmm.
with coronavirus and quarantine, and then on top of it all, now this incredible, frightening, wonderful paradox of the Black Lives Matter movement, which needs to happen.
Right,
It's beautiful, but brings this whole other element of like, what can I do? How can I show up in this complete world that is clearly evolving and is
right,
wonderful? um it's a lot to hold. So
right,
I think we all need to give ourselves a certain amount of patience, and if we don't know what to do, we listen more deeply.
right. I think the uncertainty, you know, the uncertainty of, you know, of it all. You know, there was a lot of uncertainty in our lives before the pandemic, before the, you know, before the movement and the conversation around Black Lives Matters, and but in some cases we accepted that, or we tolerated with that level of uncertainty. But now this level of uncertainty is now in our face with uncertainty underneath it. So it's like we can't see the end of it. You know, it's there's a feeling, I'll speak for myself, that there was a feeling that even in the uncertainty that I had in my life before, that I felt that, hey, all I have to do is kick myself in the behind and all of this uncertainty will go away. That, you know, that I kind of had some control in some of the things that were working and not working in my life, right? And so, but there's so much of it that is outside of my control, outside of my understanding or my appreciation. So it's like, huh, um, when is this gonna, you know, kind of settle down, or and all that other kind of stuff, to kind of be able to do it. So the more that embrace it or acknowledge it or just, you know, dance with it, then it can, you know, then I can still live within it. Then there is this completeness um, in it all, and you know, it makes sense and it doesn't make sense, right? It's you know, I said to, you know, some people, you know, about, you know, the virus and the pandemic, is that we tolerated being out in public with all kind of germs, you know, and we kind of knew people, you know, weren't washing their hands consistently, or you would see people doing things, and it's like, dude, cover your mouth, or or it's like, did you just like put your finger in your nose or something, or something like that. But we just kind of just acted as if it wouldn't make us sick, or all the all the other things. It was just a part of our lives. And then now to be faced with, hey, there is a virus out there that, if you're not aware, if you're not socially distanced, if you're not have a mask on or something, it could possibly cause harm to you. And so now it's like we're like ultra overly aware of something, but it was always present. There's always going to be a level of uncertainty and certainty that we have to manage, and I think that's within our awareness of what's complete and what's not. And it's and as you were saying, it is not the end of something. Complete isn't the end, that the end of a task. It is the total recognition of all of it, in some cases. And I hope that made sense, because it made sense in my head, and then when I said it, I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
huh, I don't understand what that means, right?
Yeah. Well, that's how, I mean, that's how my thoughts often are. It's like they're
Right.
very interwoven and interconnected. But like you said, now the levels of just uncertainty and complexity that we're trying to hold, it's overwhelming at times, which you just do have to kind of sometimes check out and go, okay, I'm going to go watch a movie, or I'm going to just go, I walk a lot. I have a new dog, and I walk like 3 times a day around the
Right.
neighborhood, go to the park for one long, in the woods. So I've spent honestly most of my time in nature, which I think is a perfect thing to do during this bizarre
Right.
time, because it's a great place to contemplate and just be still and be with yourself and be with what is important, which is we live on this planet, and how can we coexist more resiliently with this planet, which I
Right.
think is also something a lot of people have become aware of during this bizarre time, with the levels of complexity of, politics and social awareness are wonderful and important, but also just reconnecting with your family and your close friends that are in your neighborhood or in your home,
Right.
planting gardens and really thinking more about, wow, what are we doing here on this planet? Because we haven't had this level of stillness and, going inside, literally
Right.
inside your home, inside yourself,
Right.
awareness of your immediate loved ones, to really contemplate these big issues. But it's like you can't just go, well, I have a solution, because there's 7 billion
Right.
humans
Right.
and billions and billions of other species on this planet that we have to all take into consideration. So these are very big thoughts. So how do you just go, well, here's my plan. Boom.
Right.
Um, yeah, woo, big stuff.
I,
Big
I,
time.
I know. I love the inside, that you were saying, that I've heard a lot of people that are in the self development or anything, they say, hey, it's an inside job, right? It's that work that we're willing to do inside. And the first book, I mentioned on a couple shows, the first book that I read this year was Transition.
Mm.
And it talks about, there's a framework that I use a lot, and I try to just kind of see where I am within it. And it's like, there's an ending, there's a neutral, and then there's a new beginning. And the author, William Bridges, he was saying that the main reason why we have difficulties with transitions is we want to skip that neutral step.
Mm.
That step that I think that you were pointing to is that inside, that figuring out, not kind of, this is what I'm going to do next, this is going to be the next big thing, but this is a time of mourning, or being frustrated, or just kind of being with the feelings that this ended, and just kind of just being with that. And the more that we're with that, the more that we're able to move into the new beginnings of our lives.
Mm.
And I think a lot of this for me, a lot of this reopening and a lot of this kind of protests and things that are this movement that is happening now is is challenging for people to recognize, because it's kind of in a pause period, but we're still trying to make some, we're trying to have a new beginning while we're in this neutral time. And even though there's this neutral time, there's a lot of emotions. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of, there's a lot of tears. There's a lot of that. And sometimes I believe in our society, we equate that, those tears and those emotions, as I got to do something to keep this from happening. That's why when, someone cries, you give them a tissue, you get, hey, I don't want to see your tears, right? Wipe those off, do that. And in some cases for me, I want to get to a place where I just cry and I just feel the tears on my face and I just recognize, I want to get mad and just feel the, the heat in my, in my face, or something, and just kind of just own that, instead of just trying to think of ways to get past it, or get, to get to something else. And I think the more that we embrace, all of us, the completeness of us, the more that we can, I don't want to say deal with, I don't know if that's the right word, but we can, um, all I have right now is deal. The more that we can deal with us, the more that we can embrace us, the more that we can acknowledge. And I think too often we can, we can't get to a completeness or an awareness of our completeness because we're worrying about the tasks, to get through something.
Yeah. 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 That's beautiful. I wrote down this book, Transition. That sounds like a really good book. Um, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, like you're saying, to sit with or be with. Another way is to say kind of to hold it, and
Right.
how the concept of being in this neutral space is like an opportunity, yeah, to go inside and try to hold. I wrote down complete complexity,
Hmm.
because maybe, I'm one of those people who, I like the one word concept because it makes you really think, well, what is this one word? And then I go, ooh, I like it with this word.
Right.
Or, ooh, how does it sit with this word? And like the combination of words
Right.
can kind of shift you out of maybe the part where the word feels like, when it feels like an ending, complete.
Right.
Is it done? I'm like, no, it's not done. Chill. I'm still working on it.
Right.
That's kind of how we are right now with so many things, is we're still working on it. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. So you
Right.
need that time of neutral
Right.
and observing out and kind of taking it in and going, well, how does that feel? And what can I do about that? Well, I'm not sure yet. I'm going back to neutral. I'm gonna work in my garden. Let me get back to you. Or um, nature is my favorite to be also. I like Melissa. Thank you, Melissa. It
Yeah,
is.
she's
Anytime we can go outside, and I feel so much for the people, in really, concentrated cities where they don't have the opportunity to even leave their apartment. I mean, I don't know if I'd be smiling and laughing as much right now if I had to do that. And I pray for you all to find ways to still connect with the world in ways that are peaceful and not just in your mind, that
right.
are opportunities to see beautiful trees growing, or maybe watch nature shows. I don't know what's going to work for people, but
Right.
um so the feeling of completeness, that is, again, that inside. And maybe it's like, what if it's just a complete mess right now? And of course
Right.
that
Yeah.
doesn't mean every single thing is a mess,
Right.
but sometimes it feels like a complete and total drop a bomb right there mess.
Right.
Not bomb, you know what I
Right.
meant, the F.
I know absolutely.
I'm editing
Right.
myself, so you don't have to, because it's live. um
Okay.
and and then cry. I think it's totally okay to cry. And if I hand someone a tissue, it's like, keep it going, friend. It's fine. But also, you don't want snot dripping down your face because it's
Right.
uncomfortable.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but I support the tears, I think. I mean, I've had a lot of tears.
Right. Yeah,
This, and so I watch it's not necessarily,
now you
we had a
froze just a
blackout.
moment. Yeah, let's say
That
hopefully you'll come. I think
was
you're
a moment
coming.
of for breath. I think it's really important to feel at this time, like,
Right,
and not just like, I got to go, I got to move forward, because that's kind of what's gotten us into this mess, is
right,
taking action before we take that neutral time to have stillness and reflect, and kind of, how does what I'm about to do impact the world? How does it impact my family? How does it impact,
right.
you know,
Yeah, it's really something that we um, I subscribe to a be do have mentality. And within that, it is the more that I have an understanding of my being, there is doing in my being, so I can have what I want to have. And too often in the past, I I felt that, or there was a push to be doing something. You know, it's like, okay, there's a problem. Go, let's go solve the problem. But I had no awareness of my being, of who I was and how I was showing up. And there was many times where my heart was to help, my heart was to be of service, but I was in the way because I had no awareness of how I could help. I had no listening for what help was needed. There was just this help, and I think sometimes, especially when there are traumas that come up in our society or in our lives, there is this doing for drive that our culture puts on us, and it's like going back to the task, because we want an end to something. We feel that if I do enough of something, I'll get to the end. I mentioned before that I had a moment with someone, because of one word or a couple words that she said that kind of, I don't want to say it triggered me, but it kind of caused something within me,
mm,
and I um, and basically what she said was, these protests have been going on for so long. Um, and I and in that moment, I was like, no, no, they haven't. They just started, right? And it was like, in all due respect and all, understanding. And I know for some people it may occur as so long, but there are a lot of other things that have been happening for so long that people were okay with. This is not one of them. And so, even though it was, it didn't turn into a fight or didn't get escalated or anything like that, and we had, I believe, we had, a beautiful moment after that. It was a moment that I saw that if I would have just allowed that to be said, and just, had the feeling that I had and not say anything, then there would have been an incompleteness with me, I believe,
mm,
with her, right? With people that think like that, or and all that. But and so in order for me to stay complete, I have to stay present. I have to stay aware. And so it is within our communication, there is a lot of things that we will, I guess, not say correctly or perfectly or anything like that. But I believe that it's not just, a task to get through to the end of the conversation, to complete this conversation, but it is a journey to just kind of stay in conversations because of our completeness.
mm,
So,
mm. Yeah,
yeah,
that's really beautiful, and that's a really good example of not just taking action, because for me, my gut reaction may have been, wait, what? And feathers are ruffled. Here we
right,
go. Wait,
right,
because there's so many perspectives on this issue. And
Right.
it's such an opportunity right now to learn from one another. And I think part of my hesitation to get super involved is that I am a white person who has
Right.
white privilege. And because I'm aware of that, I am not going to just jump in and try to fix things, because that's, again, the problem. The boy, I really like that word. Um, I like naughty words apparently, but I can learn. See, I can learn.
Yes.
So
You're
something
aware,
I
right?
recently heard that really helped, because I understand how movements work, and they're much bigger than a protest or a march or a thing, or oh, it's been a week or two. Wow, that's not a long time. What I believe is happening as a witness and a member of this society is, it's like the next phase of the civil rights movement. There's been numerous steps from the civil rights movement to now, but we've kind of reached this place of complacency in this country where the blinders are on and, oh, we had a black president, so everything's fine. The kind of
Right.
fine I told you, which has an
Right.
acronym.
Right.
I can say the effed up,
Yes. Yes.
insecure, neurotic, and emotional. That's, I'm fine. Everything's fine, right?
Right.
But it's not. It's definitely not. There's many
Right.
problems that have been building since that time for the last 150 years, and racism is still very much present in this country.
Right.
And this movement, I hope it's an opportunity to learn a lot and reflect a lot. And what I think is really wonderful is how even things like Netflix has like 15 new movies that are all about kind of learning more about the history of Black culture and Black people in this country, and different, opportunities for growth for all of us to learn and self-reflect. And there's amazing books. I'm reading White Fragility. I'm reading the new Jim Crow. I mean, I'm trying to educate myself so that I can be more present with this movement, and how can I support people who are not being heard or respected at this time, or for the last 150 years. So
Right.
it's kind of mind-blowing to have this, but see, that's the thing about, we have been so still in our country and in our world, and then it's like, well, what comes up is what needs to be seen and what needs to be healed,
Right.
whether that's in your own life or currently in the state of the world. And this is a big thing that we need to look at. So
Right.
I'm really grateful that it's happening and that it's arisen, even if it seems like an awkward time. Maybe it's
Right.
the perfect time.
Right. I appreciate that. I have let's say a nuanced stance. Um, that there's a part of me, I don't know if my black label or or the defiant label, or whatever label it is that I believe that we're not going to educate ourselves to to be decent people, because yes, we can become more educated in things, um, but there has to be I guess an opportunity to look at our what we believe, and there's a practice of belief repatterning. I don't know if you ever heard of that. And I think what we believe about race is causing how race is showing up in societies within the world. Until we change that belief, we will continue to have band-aids, or things that kind of do it, because there's within the race construct, I believe there's always going to be winners and losers, because my understanding of the word race, there's winners and there's losers.
Mm,
And so until we let go that construct and really look at our heritage or nationalities, or a lot of other things that will embrace our diversity, aside from race, then we won't be the complete human race.
mm,
So that's where I am. I appreciate, I guess, the study and the awareness and the promotion of things. The thing for me is that these most of these books and movies and things weren't just made. They were already there, because we are whole and complete. So this conversation has been going on for a long time. However, we didn't have the listening for it. And we can blame why we didn't have the listening for it, and we can shame people for not having the listening for it, or we can just realize in this moment we need to have a listening for it.
Mhm.
Because it's not, in some cases it's not just civil rights, it's human rights, it's decency, it's respect, it's all the things that we say that we are, that we haven't been showing up for. I believe that a lot of the ideals of America, let's just say, because that's where I lived most of my life. I visited a lot of other places, but that's where I live. That we have accepted the appearance of freedom, the appearance of civility, the appearance of inclusion, instead of freedom, inclusion, respect. So there is a difference between the appearance of and the actual thing. And the more that we stand for what it is, what freedom is, what inclusion is, what diversity is, then we can be complete in our expression. So yeah, this is definitely an interesting time and space and opportunity. But I hope that we we focus on the, I guess, with the end in mind. As I don't know if it's Maxwell or some, there's a lot of people, but begin with the end in mind. And I think in some cases some of this doesn't have the end in mind, or there is a very ambiguous end. you know I don't think kumbaya is at the end of this. you know you know but I think there's a level of respect and appreciation, and honor for each other's humanity that can clearly be a part of it.
Mm, yes, beautifully said. Beautifully said. Um, I think that resonates with my understanding of completeness. Is that complete? Well, when do we complete the movement, or when do we complete
Hmm.
this awakening? Right? It's an ongoing journey. I mean, because in a way, this could just be the civil rights movement ongoing, because it never really finished.
Right.
It was a piece of our awakening. It's a piece of, and I think books are a piece of the puzzle, and watching
Right.
movies that, because if you hear someone's story and see their story truly reflected, that is a way that it gets into us.
Right.
We connect with humans if we see their true story from their voice. That's
Right.
something I studied a lot at Antioch. It's very social justice
Right.
minded. One of my favorite books is The Psychology of Liberation. And it's like how until we liberate ourselves inside our hearts and minds, and our understanding, like you said, of race and what is race, what are our beliefs about race, there's so many pieces to this puzzle. And I think any different way we can educate our mind and our heart and our soul to connect with one another as equal beings on this planet.
Right.
So for me, the end, which again I don't really believe in ends, but the
Right.
the goal that I hope and pray we're working towards as human beings, now and anytime. That's a big statement I just said. What is my hope and prayer for human beings? Yeah, that we truly connect with ourselves and our hearts and one another as human beings, as this species who is apparently the only one who can speak and create things with our hands in such a way that we can completely change our entire world. Like,
Right.
that is just freaking mind boggling if you think about it.
Right.
And then how do we connect with all life on the planet? And also that we create these hierarchies a lot. And I find that in nature, there's really not hierarchies. Everything is a cycle. Everything loops back and forth. Things ebb and flow, and they give and they receive, and they live and they die. But it's all this cyclic harmony. There is no, there's the food chain.
Right.
but then the microbes eat the tiger when it dies. So are the microbes at the top? I mean, I don't
Right.
know, right?
Right.
So I'm like a really abstract big thinker. I know you are too, because we go on these big, beautiful tangents and then we come back. Oh, yeah. And what is complete about that? Well, the complete world is really incredible.
Right.
Um, and I'm so grateful that, maybe this conversation tangented to this, but I think this is to me, this is one of the most profound and important topics of our time is how can we rebalance humanity?
Right. It's almost like we're fighting the the circle of life, the cycles of life. It's like we as humans, we says, hey, we're I've kind of figured this out, and I am going to do things to kind of make sure that I'm in control and not the universe or something like that. It is like almost at odds with the reality of how life works. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if that's this kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing, and so we create these these constructs to kind of make us feel the higher on the food chain or whatever, or make something else. And at the end of it all, life and death, it's gonna happen. You can delay it, or you can speed it up, right? But it's going to happen. And how we work with our life, how we flow with life, and honor life in general. And I don't want to get into the different hashtags or anything, but the more that we really honor and appreciate and respect life in general, then we'll show up in our lives fully. And I think that's the completeness. That is that. And but I've been accused of making things harder than they are, and maybe as humanity, that's what we have done. Instead of going with the flow of life, right? we've kind
Yeah.
of we've kind of made it more difficult in our desire to make it easy.
Mm. Yeah. I feel like our brains have evolved faster than our hearts, or our ability to kind of connect with our heart and soul. Perhaps we think our
Right.
mind is like the ultimate thing, and just again that take action without that
Right.
pause, that neutral, that self-reflection that is essential to guiding the action.
Right. It's like the someone I don't know if that was shared in the conversation, or a video that I watched. It was talking about the ocean, that the in and outs of the tide, and that there is a pause before and it's like you don't sometimes you don't see it, you can't notice it,
Mm-hmm.
but a pause happens, right? And then it does what it does, right? It comes, and then it calms down, and then and then there's a pause. And I think we are so conditioned not to respect or appreciate that pause, that stop, and
Mm.
that we miss. And so so yeah, so I just so much appreciate this conversation. And just like I said, it's sometimes it feels like the bigness of our lives, that to say, hey, I'm whole and complete, and it's like, yeah, I don't feel whole and complete. But it really, it doesn't matter if you feel it or not. But the more that we own it, and the more that we endeavor to discover exactly what that means, and there's no tasks involved, and there's no end to the whole incompleteness of my life and my being, then then we can truly embrace that for ourselves and for each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Like maybe it's the process instead of the end. It's the journey,
Right.
the complete journey.
Right.
I like
Wow.
it connected in that way. We're on the complete journey. We have the highs and the lows in the middle, and the sadness and the tears are part of the
Right.
complete puzzle that makes us. And
Wow.
the challenges we find with other humans is a part of, well, then how can I learn from that challenge instead of, well, there's a challenge, so I'm going to close the door on it.
Right.
Like it's just like having this conversation. That's such a gift, William. Thank you so much for your openness and your, holding this space and creating this opportunity for people to have these conversations that start in such a way that seems so simple. It's one word. Oh, it's just one word, right?
Right. Right. You're right.
But it can lead into like so much
Right.
connection. And so thank you. I feel more of a complete possibility
Hmm.
that humans can grow and learn because we can just keep having these kind of conversations, which open the door for more of that, more growth and connection.
Wow. I appreciate that. Um, there's this hopefulness that I have, and like I said, I wasn't expecting it or not expecting it, but I'm so glad that within this conversation, this has come. We could talk about this for hours, but I'm sure, you still have more of your day than I do, but at least by 3 hours, right? But
Yeah.
is there any other last word? Because I just want to let you know, the complete journey. I am going to be using that again. I think that is brilliant. I think that really, if we embrace the complete journey, that gives me freedom, and I hope that gives freedom to other people because in the complete journey, there's a lot of shit that comes up, right? you know,
Yeah, for real.
but we just want this nice little, sweet little journey and all that other kind of stuff. No, I want to live the complete journey, and just be open and up to everything that comes with that. So, thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. I'm happy to be on this complete journey as a reflection for you, and thank you for being a beautiful reflection for me. Have a
Well,
beautiful day, William.
thank you very much. I am going to put you back in the green room, and we'll say our goodbyes from there as I end the show. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Sorry, I was a little too quick on the click there. Sometimes, as I'm producing it, I want to make sure that everything is great. But I posted something today. Um, about I woke up with the word narrative, in narratives, and I really am inviting people to push through the narratives that of other people and other agendas that are happening, because your story, the more that you discover your story and live your story and share your story, the world is much more complete. The complete journey. That is just, if we can just sit with that, and just embrace that more, I really believe that it can change the way we show up. There's no shame, there's no blame. It's just part of our complete journey. The world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow.